Dirk, you're the winemaker and viticulturist at L'Avenir. Um, I hold a rock here because I think the soils here are so fascinating. You have some of the oldest soil in the world.
Mm.
What that means is also that the soils are extremely fragile and poor with very little organic matter. We know that in the context of climate change, you need that organic matter
Mm.
and have the soil health to have a vineyard that's more resilient, especially with water retention. So, what do you do as a viticulturist to ensure that you promote soil health in such a old soils?
Yeah, definitely. I think when you look at South Africa, we've always been part of a subtropical climate system,
Yeah,
which means that we've never gone through ice age. So our soils have weathered 200 to 240 million years longer than what you'll find in Europe, which means that our marginal soils are much shallower. That what you've got in your hand is actually called shale, and this ridge of shale runs across the back of the farm. So you can feel on the texture that this used to be sedimentary rock. So the
yeah.
Western Cape where we're standing today has been submerged 7 times in its lifespan, and that's very clayish, so it's very fine textured. So this specific soil holds a lot of water, but it's not the case with all of the ancient soils. If you look at sand derivatives or granite derivative soils, these soils, they hold much more water and moisture throughout the season, which gives you plants that grow really, I would say, slower, because again clay keeps the moisture for itself, but it releases it over the season. Where with granite and sandstone, you lose a lot of your moisture
Hmm.
early in the season. So what we normally do with these soils, we do need to do supplementary irrigation, especially on the sandy and granite derivative soils. And for that reason, we look at various techniques. So first of all, your GIS, which is your literally photography taken
So
from.
using technology.
Exactly, exactly. Looking at technology, you can look at the vigor and the disperseness or the density of it, and in that way you can irrigate the vineyard in such a way that you don't over irrigate some of them or under irrigate some of them. But we also use something called a pressure leaf bomb, where we take a leaf in summertime, 12 o'clock in the afternoon when it's really at its most exposed time. We put it under pressure and we look at the amount of time it takes with pressure to push the fluid within the leaf itself through the stomata, through the petiole, the amount of time that it takes to form a little drop on the outside of the machine. It gives us an idea, and we can schematically put it onto a graph how long it takes in order to identify how much soil water we've got at that certain moment, and then we can irrigate. But again, we want partial dryness, so
Yeah.
it's a great plant to grow because it's so water savvy, I would say. It takes up about 500 cubes per hectare a year, which is nothing compared to some of
Yeah.
the other agricultural, citrus or whatever you want to grow.
So you're basically using technology to ensure that you're giving the plant and the soil what it needs, but not over irrigating either, because water is so precious
Yeah,
where you are.
no, exactly, and that's why we use cover crops like this, where we can really cover the soil surface to have less moisture being lost during the summer times. We also use cover crops to open up the soil itself, our hardy soils with bigger root systems, and to put back biomass, carbon and nitrogen. Some of them have nitrogen purposes, like the legumes, which are just
Mm.
pretty because you grow them and you let them grow over the ridge so that they can really form a thick layer in summertime in order to preserve the soil moisture within for the plant to be able to uptake.
In South Africa, because water can be quite scarce, we've seen it in 2014, 2018 were
Mm.
quite big drought years for you. You've developed some methods to really make sure that when it does rain, you capture the water and you reuse it. So I know you have some dam here.
Yeah.
Can you give us an idea of how much water you can collect in the dam?
Yeah, so with our big dam, we can collect about 60,000 cubes, which can give me at least 2 to 2.5 seasons of
Wow, that's
irrigation, which is
huge.
amazing. And during the droughty years, we actually became very crafty, or we had a look at our topography within the farm and see where we can collect more water. So I opened up a little, almost like a storage dam, which I took, and then we'll pump it to the highest point of the farm and we'll release it so that it moves with gravity all the way through to the irrigation storage dam that we can use later on in the season. And there we collected about 20,000 cubes, which is amazing, which is compared to one season worth of water.
It's really inspiring because I think that in many places of the world we take water for granted, and here you know that it's a precious thing. And I think going forward, the rest of the world will have to come to places like South Africa to learn how to make the most of every drop of water that falls on earth. And yeah, cheers to that.
Gezondheid. Cheers. Cheers to soil moisture and
Yes,
to
and to
penetration
water.
and to water.